Hey everyone, welcome to our lesson on data gathering techniques. We have a few terms to go over that are involved with this topic, so we're going to go over those first. One term you're going to come across when you start dealing with data is population. Population is simply just all the members in the set that you were trying to gather data for. Sample is going to be a subgroup within that population. So for instance, everyone in a certain high school may be considered the population of the high school. And then one teacher's class during one certain period would be a sample of that population. All right, and you always want to make sure that your samples they reflect accurate estimates of your population, that they represent them well. And we're going to talk about ways that we can try to make that happen, strategies for that, okay? Now, when you're dealing with data gathering, you may come across numerical data, and that just involves things that are numbers such as weights or heights or people's salaries at their job. Or you might come across categorical data, and that is simply just different categories of things. People may be grouped by hair color, religious denomination, political affiliate, things like that. Okay, so we talked about making our sample that we are gathering data for representative of our population, because the purpose of data gathering is using information we get from a sample to make predictions about our population, so that we don't have to actually go ask every single person in the population the question that we're trying to find out about. So to ensure that you have a good, accurate sample that's reflective of your population, you always want to try to make your sample the most random. Okay, the more random, the better. Random meaning everyone has an equal chance of being selected for your survey or your data gathering. Convenience is another type of sampling, and that is when you're just using whoever's around you. If you're sitting out in front of a store and you just happen to survey whoever comes by, whoever's near you, that is a type of sample where members are easily accessible. Okay, so you're just sampling whoever's there at the time. Systematic is going to involve some type of system for you gathering your data. Maybe you're looking through the phone book and you call every 10th person or every 20th person. You have a system and you don't know who that person's going to be when you call them, but you have some kind of system to it. Stratified involves grouping your population into groups first, and then randomly choosing from members in each group. For instance, you may want to know something about people's opinions at a sporting event, and you split people into rows first, their seating rows, and then you randomly choose tickets from each row, something like that. And then cluster is very similar to stratified. However, after you group your population into groups, you then randomly choose whole groups to participate in your survey. All right, so lots of different methods for sampling. So we're going to practice and we're going to try to identify which method is being used here. Suppose that the prom committee at our school would like to find out which type of soft drink students prefer. Suppose they're planning the prom event and they need to know which amounts of which soft drinks to buy for students. So they have different strategies here. Number one, let's say that they are sending a survey randomly with 4 options for soft drinks to 10 freshmen, 10 sophomores, 10 juniors, and 10 seniors to find out their preferences. So what type of sampling method would that be? Well, we can see that we have our population separated into groups. Okay, so remember the methods that involved grouping were the stratified and the cluster. They have randomly selected people within each group, so that is going to match to the stratified. Okay. All right, now, second method. Suppose they sent a survey to every 15th person on the whole entire role of the school? Well, they have a system for doing this. They're choosing every 15th person in 15 people increments. So that is going to be our systematic way of sampling. Okay, here's a third method. Suppose instead that they surveyed those who just happen to be in the library at 2:30 p.m. Well, those who are in the library around those who are wanting to give out the survey, if they happen to be there at the same time that they're wanting to hand out the survey, that is going to be our convenience sample. All right. Now, the big question is, which one of these methods is going to be the best? And you could probably argue different pros and cons to each. But based on the fact that we would like for our survey to give the most accurate results, let's think about this, okay? So stratified, remember, chose 10 students from each grade level, okay? The systematic pulled every 15th person from the school's roll. So both of those we could say are probably pretty accurate, pretty good. The convenience, we're only taking the people who were in the library at 2:30, so if you think about it, no one else in the whole school besides those that were in the library are going to be represented in this survey. So that may not be our best bet. Okay, so it's down to stratified versus systematic. We have no guarantee that if we use our systematic approach that we will be getting a variety of age groups or a variety of, male and female. We don't know what that's going to be, so that may not be the very best approach. It's definitely a good approach, but may not be the most accurate. So we're going to go with stratified in this case, and sometimes you'll have to analyze depending on the situation. The reason we're going to go with this one is because this one chose groups of all ages, so everyone is represented. No one is underrepresented. And then from those groups, we just randomly chose members. So the more random we can get always, the better. All right, so to use this same example, the prom committee wanted to know soft drink preferences. So let's say that they chose to use the stratified approach and that they came up with these results here. So 11 out of those 40 students polled liked Sprite, 19 preferred Coke, 8 preferred Dr. Pepper, and 2 preferred Mountain Dew. And they only had 4 options on the survey. So how do we use this to help us plan for the prom in our entire school population? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to use a proportion. Okay, based on results from our sample, we're going to expand it to find what would likely be the preferences of our population. So how many students in our total population do you think would prefer Sprite? And it says here that we have 500 at our school. So if 11 out of 40 preferred Sprite in the sample, you can see here, we're going to compare that to how many would prefer it out of a group of 500. So we're gonna set up a proportion. 11 over 40 equals x over 500. All right, using cross multiplying, we're going to have 40x equals 5,500. We're going to then try to get x by itself and divide by 40. And we're going to come up with the results of 137.5. Now we know we can't have half of a person, so we'll round that either up or down however we want to. But roughly, probably based on our survey results, more than likely around 137 or 138 people would prefer this in our school. So this is how we will use our data gathering techniques to plan for an entire population. This concludes our lesson on data gathering techniques.